Ladies, cuffing season is almost upon us. Fall is in the air, the leaves are about to start turning, and it is almost time for people to start getting cozied up as couples. So, you may be in a situation where you are dating a new guy and you want to know how things are going. So, in this video, I'm going to be talking all about how to read a man's mind. Now, I'm not going to be teaching any kind of like a clear sentience, like the actual ability to read minds, but we're going to be going through something that is based in science, right? The next best thing if you're not, a working psychic. So, this is going to be work that is adapted actually from the author of Captivate, Vanessa Van Edwards. I highly recommend her book, and she talks about a method in her books called cold reading, which is essentially building a model based on various personality traits that are actually used by companies like Meta, formerly Facebook, to map out human personality, right? So they are following the Ocean method, OCEAN, and we're going to talk about what each of those letters mean and how you can use them to get what you want. Because at the end of the day, what am I really about here on this channel? I want you to get princess treatment, I want you to get spoiled, I want you to get gifts, and I want you to get a ring if you're looking for that. So we're going to be talking not only about how you can generally get to know this man and make sure that he's a good fit for you, but also how you can use this mental model of his personality that you're building to start to get what you want, whether that's a trip or a gift or, the next stage in a relationship. That's what we're here to discuss today. Now, if you're new here, this is the Feminine Mystery. My name is Azalea Dawn. Welcome to my channel. If you like this video, then check out other ones like it on my channel, and let's get started. Now, the first aspect of personality that we're going to be going over is openness. Is he generally open to new experiences? Now, this is something where there is a spectrum going on. People can be more towards being very open, or they can be more towards being very closed, and neither one is like the bad or the good. They're just different ends of a spectrum that somebody can be on. When it comes to openness, you're really talking about people who go out of their way to seek out novel and new experiences. So think about that like in an aspect of everyday life. A very open person, if they're going to go to a restaurant, they might be very, motivated to go to a restaurant that they've never been to before. They want to go somewhere new and exciting. They want to be surprised. They want something unusual. They're very much after novelty, and you can see that trait going on with a lot of people who maybe like live in certain areas. For example, like Los Angeles, there's a lot of people out there who are looking for new and novel experiences, whereas other places, as you might think of as more like small c conservative, maybe big C, I don't know, like Dallas, Texas, you have a lot of people who are very closed. They like the same thing, right? So a very closed person, if you are thinking about going to a restaurant, they want to go to the same restaurant that they've been going to for the past 8 years. They want to go to that restaurant. They want to sit at the same table that they always sit at. They want to order the same thing that they know that they like. They are essentially, like, their definition of a good time is going to do something that is predictable, that they've done before, that they know that they enjoy. They don't want anything new going on there. When it comes to like a character on TV, if you've ever seen like King of the Hill, Hank Hill is the epitome of like a very like closed personality, somebody who wants to do the same thing, get up every day, has his routine, he's very established, and he wants to kind of just like stay in that groove. So you might have a guy who is like one or the other, like very open, very closed, or maybe like smack dab in the middle. Maybe he likes new things every now and then, sometimes he doesn't. Now, how does this actually apply to you if you want to, let's say, go on a trip? Maybe you want like a luxury vacation or something. The way that you want to pitch it to a guy who's very open is that you want to focus on how this is new, it's novel, it's going to be exciting, it's going to be so different from things that he's done before. And you want to really focus on points like that when you're talking to him and when you're pitching it to him. Versus if you want to go on a certain vacation or like a trip with a guy who's got a very closed personality, it's still possible. But you want to draw comparisons to things that he knows, things that he likes, things that he's tried before and he's had a good time doing. You want to make it seem like it's not going to be that different, it's not going to be that unusual, etc., etc. So that's how you're going to pitch something that you want to a guy who's very open versus very closed. The next aspect is conscientiousness. Is he more conscientious or does he go with the flow? Now, conscientious, think of this like Virgo energy. This is somebody who, he has a schedule, he has maybe like a calendar that he uses. He likes to plan things out in advance and he makes a lot of, very detailed plans in advance of something happening in his life. And that's how he likes to go about things. He's just very methodical. And a person who is not very conscientious or ranks very low in conscientiousness, they're more sporadic, more impulsive. They just kind of go for things. They will wake up and, it's like Phineas and Ferb. They're just like, what do you want to do today? Whereas a very conscientious person, they have maybe like a plan for every day of the week. They might have like a plan for everything that they're going to do for like the next month or two. They're the person who has like a 5-year plan for their life. That is a very conscientious person. So think agendas, think notebooks, think planners. That is conscientiousness. Now, men can be very high in this, they can be very low in this. People can really just be all over the place with this trait. But what's relevant is how you are going to use this in order to get what you want. Let's say you want to be spoiled. You want a gift. You want a very expensive gift like an Hermes bag or something that is maybe like hard to get or something that might be very easy to get but just very expensive, like something from Cartier that is just like $20,000 or something. This is something where you can definitely do it with either type of guy, like either high conscientiousness or low, but you really have to tailor your approach to make sure that the way that you're going about it really suits his personality. With somebody who's very low in conscientiousness, so you're looking at him, you notice that he doesn't really plan things, he just kind of, lives in the moment, blah, blah, blah. You do not want to be talking to him about something that is happening or that you want to happen 2, 3, 4, 5 months from now. If you want to go on a vacation in August and it's January, don't say anything. If you want a certain gift, you don't want to be talking about it. You want to be in the right place at the right time. So like have a lunch date, maybe like near an area where there's a lot of nice stores, and then just pop in with him to Cartier and just look at the bracelets and tell him how much you love it when you're trying it on, blah, blah, blah. And that's the guy. Like that's how you get that kind of guy who's very low conscientiousness. He's very in the moment. He'll buy you that Cartier bracelet. That said, if you are, maybe with a guy who's very high in conscientiousness and you want like a certain trip, you're going to have to tell him like pretty early. If you want to start, traveling in August, you're going to need to tell him by February. Right? If you want a certain purchase like an Hermes Mini Kelly, you need to tell him so that he has the time to plan that out, work it into his budget. He is, regardless of the amount of money that he actually makes, he's probably a very detail-oriented person. So springing things up on him at the last minute is not going to get you what you want. So just remember that you can work with either one to get what you want, but you want to make sure that you're kind of, swimming in the direction that the river is flowing. Make it so that it's easy for you and work with his personality. Now this next one is going to be fairly straightforward. We've all heard of extroverts and introverts. And the question is he more extroverted or fairly introverted? Now this is more so relevant for those of you who are in a relationship where you want the ring. You want him to essentially propose to you and make you his wife. And you want that to happen maybe like as fast as possible, maybe like within a year, which is definitely realistic, but that's when you need to use like this level of psychology. If you're more like casually dating as a starter boyfriend, you are just, kind of there for the vibe, this is not really something for you to worry about. When it comes to extroverts, what you need to understand is that he probably has like a very established social life. He probably has a lot of people in his life that he sought out, friends, family, coworkers, a very boisterous personality. He likes to be out and about with people, in which case you need to be able to fit into his social life. That is the primary thing that's going to determine with a very extroverted man whether or not you're getting the ring. You need to fit the social life that he's already living, which means that if he likes to, have these barbecues in his backyard and he has like 30 people over, you need to get with the vibe for that. If he likes to go to the beach, you need to start enjoying the beach, or lie and say you do. If he likes these big family gatherings at restaurants, you need to go looking the part, ready to talk, ready to be charming, even if you don't feel like it. That's how you're really going to play that situation. If you have a man who's more extroverted, you have more leeway here. But the trick to really making sure that you're providing a lot of value into his life is to make sure that you are facilitating his social life for him, right? When it comes to introverts, especially if he's an introvert and you're more of an extrovert, the value that you provide is that you facilitate his social life. So you make it easy for him to make friends, you make it easy for him to maybe like have friends with you as a couple, you do a lot of the talking when you're out and about, you make a lot of jokes, you make people very comfortable around you, you maybe like plan things like with his family and little outings here and there. Showing that you care in that way is a surefire way again to get the ring. So again, I'm not saying that you only have to do this if you have quote unquote ulterior motives, but like you should be motivated. So I don't really know like what to say about that. If you want the ring and you want secret psychological hacks to get there, I would definitely say paying attention to that social dynamic between introverts and extroverts and how you can fit in there is definitely a top tier advice. Next, we're going to talk about being agreeable. This is something that is definitely a red flag territory for both people in a couple. So, does he try hard to agree with others? Agreeability is something that has, its pros and cons. People who are just extremely agreeable, we know them as people pleasers, we know them as yes people, we know them as people who have difficulty saying no. But the flip side of that is that they're usually very well liked by others, right? Of course they are. They usually have very good social relationships. They may be very good in businesses that involve, relationships like real estate or, any sort of like something dealing with like pregnancies, like doulas, anything where they really have to deal with people in one-on-one relationships. Agreeable people are going to be top tier. But where it really comes to be a kind of like a fault is like when you're maybe so agreeable that you just have difficulty setting boundaries with others. That said, very disagreeable people, that is the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Okay, people who cannot agree, cannot get along with others, they are the types of people who are starting fights, they're instigating situations, they're in confrontations often, they don't work well with others. They can't really have, like, if they're very disagreeable, they might have to be an entrepreneur just because they literally cannot work an office job. They've probably been fired before. They're the kind of person who will pick a fight and get into it with some random person on the street. And this is somebody who statistically is likely to go to jail. So yeah, it definitely comes with its pros and cons. So it's somebody who has like a strong sense of boundaries, a strong sense of individuality, a lot of like Aries energy. But at the same time, it can be a little bit of a dangerous trait, especially if it gets to being like very disagreeable in your home life, because you don't want somebody who's going to, give you a little bit of like a Tina Turner type situation. We don't need that. Now, when it comes to how you can actually make agreeability work for you, it's more so something that you have to pay attention to in order to adjust your own behavior and match the vibe when it comes to this guy. I definitely noticed that one of the biggest reasons that a pretty girl will get broken up with, especially, by a good quality guy, is because he is simply more agreeable than her and she does not try to get along with other people who are in his life. So I see this a lot. It's especially very big with like East Asian families. this is something where they're not looking for you to like rock the boat or to start getting into it with their family. They're not looking for that at all. So they might like let's say you're dating a guy, he has like a sister, and the sister always has like an attitude with you. If he's a very agreeable person, you need to fake it like you're getting along with the sister basically. You need to make it seem like you love his sister. Even though she's always trying to start fights with you, even though she's always, getting into it with you, you've just got to bury it and get along with her. You have to get along with the family, you have to get along with the mean aunt, you have to get along with everybody, or at least perform like you are and perform it very publicly. Now, speaking of being disagreeable, if you are going to start a fight, like let's talk about the importance of looking good while you're doing it. You do not want to be starting arguments while ugly, because like you don't want somebody calling you, fat, ugly, whatever, when you are trying to, read them to filth or whatever you're trying to do. So remember to always go out and about looking your best, because you never know when a bitch is going to try it. And the best way to do that, especially for lazy days, is a great hair oil. I love using this in my hair just for like finishing, to get that treatment in when I'm going to have like a claw clip day, when I want to make sure that I'm getting like a deep oil treatment into my hair while I still have things to do. I have errands, I want to be out and about, and I want to be looking my best while I do it. This is very different from what's typically out there, because I'm using fractionated oils, which essentially means that the molecules are broken down into a very small size. So instead of just sitting on top of the hair, they actually penetrate down very deeply. On top of that, it's gorgeously scented. It smells like sage and vanilla. It's kind of smoky, kind of spa-like, very different. And if you are looking to just have that extra touch, let me tell you, when you hug somebody and they're going past the front of you into the back, and your hair also smells wonderful and delicious, that is top tier. Also, let me just say, the price is right. So if you're looking for a hair oil, consider my brand. You can check the link out in the description below. Let's get back into the video, because I want you to get spoiled. Now, the last trait here is neuroticism. Neurotics are basically like, think about them as like worrywarts, like worriers, people who have a tendency to nag. The big question here is, how does he feel when things go wrong? So let's say like you are with a guy, you are traveling together, and this is one of the things that people always say about like, oh, you have to travel with somebody in order to really know them, because things are constantly going wrong when you travel. There are issues at the airport, issues when you touch down, issues with your hotel, issues with your travel plans, and people are going to handle that in very different ways. A very neurotic person is going to feel very bad as soon as something goes wrong. They're going to worry about things going wrong. They are maybe like the kind of person who, like, as soon as they get on the plane, they're like, oh my gosh, what if I forgot this? What if I forgot that? They're already worrying as soon as like they board. Now, the one place where you can definitely always spot like a neurotic is with the phone. This is something that is so easy just in terms of like casual psychology. You can look at your friends and you can probably like get the vibe with them. You can look at your family members and understand. Somebody who is very neurotic, you always see it with like the phone. Somebody who is low in neuroticism, they really don't worry about things. They have like a phone with like no case on at all. They're not doing anything to protect their phone. They're not thinking about what if they drop it. They are just not worried about that. Whereas somebody who's very neurotic, they have a big case, they have a screen protector, they have a little protector for the camera lens, they have all the stuff going on with their phone. Whereas like, again, like a low neurotic person, somebody who's not worried at all, if they have a phone, like they maybe have like a case for decoration, but like they're gonna drop their phone, they're gonna break their phone, and they don't care. They're just gonna take it to get it repaired. Versus like a person who's highly neurotic, they don't want to drop their phone, they don't want that to happen. They're gonna feel like the world has ended. Like it is like a category 5 hurricane has descended upon them. They're just not gonna like that. Now, when it comes to using that trait, like knowing how neurotic he is or isn't, to get yourself spoiled, how are you going to do that? Well, if you're dealing with a guy who's very neurotic, you have to essentially pitch anything in the context of the idea that you've turned it back and forth, you've thought about every little detail, and you are basically like pitching things in that way. Like, basically, it can't go wrong. If this happens, then that. If that happens, then this. Blah 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 blah. And you want to spend a lot of time talking him in to whatever you're trying to do, versus if you're dealing with a low neurotic man. And a lot of men are very low neurotics. They're just not, the worrying types like that. They're more like the steady rock in the relationship. That is a different kind of thing, because on that end of the spectrum, you want to make sure that you're not a nag, that you're not constantly talking to him about every single thing that you're thinking could go wrong. So if you're planning a trip, you don't want to be like, okay, well, if this happens in this, if that happens in that. You just want to act cool, casual, and chill, just like it's nothing. And if you are, like a bit of like a neurotic yourself, you are very worried, take it to the group chat. Okay, tell your friends, tell like maybe your sister, your mother, vent somewhere else, but you don't want to be, kind of like nagging, or like what like a man will see as nagging, by you constantly worrying about things in that relationship. Again, that's how you're gonna get, anything that you want to happen, as far as like trips, getting spoiled, like having something bought for you, or whatever. Even if you want the ring itself, you want to match his energy when it comes to neuroticism. So take note, like, what does he have going on with like his situation? Is he like a big warrior, or is he very like cool, casual, and chill? And match that energy. Now, ladies, that's going to be it for me in this video. If you've enjoyed it, then please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like it. I upload as often as I can. I will see you in my next video.